Welcome, everybody, back to the Spittballin Sports Show podcast. I'm your host, Brad, and with me today is my co-host, Eric.
What's up?
What's up, dude?
What's up, bro?
Been a good week?
The deja vu, man.
Hey, right? Oh, gotta love computers. But
happens.
hey, speaking of things kind of just being a little wonky, football has kind of felt like that for the past week, 2 weeks or so. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
if not the whole season, depending on who you're rooting for, maybe the whole season.
It's getting to like the witching hour in college football. So
especially college football.
If you watch Red Zone, you know what the witching hour is. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, lots of things happened this week. Well, not a lot, but it was significant things in terms of.
There were a few significant things. There was probably a lot for some schools because you had some games that realistically we thought were going to go one way that really didn't. Like when you're talking upsets or games that shouldn't have been close that were very close. Kind of starting off that whole deal, it finally happened, Eric. We were really high on UCLA all year, thinking they were going to be the ones to upset USC and make this whole thing kind of get flipped on its head, and well. Arizona kind of came in and I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah,
like
this one surprised me because you're UCLA, you're at home, you got your biggest game. I mean, it's going to be the most relevant USC UCLA game coming up next week, and I think that kind of got into their heads a little bit during this game because they did their offense at least did not look like themselves, and Arizona does not have a good defense. We know they have a good offense; they have a lot of weapons on offense. But UCLA should have outplayed them, no matter what the circumstances are. But Arizona came out here and they were going to play spoiler, and they sure enough did. And UCLA just looked flat. Honestly, from the beginning of the game, they just looked flat. And I think honestly, it might have been having USC. They were already thinking about next week against USC. I think that's what bit them.
I definitely think you're probably right on that, and you can especially notice that because the fact that I think this is the first time all year we haven't seen them score in the first quarter. Like, that's kind of a big deal. So for it to be a minute and a half into the second quarter before you get your first score, you at that point you're down 14-0. It's kind of a big deal, and then you even come back to tie it just to ultimately kind of let them, like, you don't get that stop again. You got that stop there to come back and tie it. You just, at that point, they just didn't have another defensive stop.
Yeah, I mean, Arizona's off. They have the weapons. Their quarterback's solid. He's got a revenge game next week against Washington State, which should be fun to watch. But their offense is not the issue. Arizona's at least. But their defense has just been, I mean, throughout the year, just horrible. I mean, they had given up less than 40 points since they played North Dakota State in their third game of the season, and UCLA comes out and they hold them to 28. Makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense, dude.
They scored 49 on this defense, and UCLA puts up 28. Yeah, I mean, it just has to be a case of UCLA thinking of USC. Like they were like, okay, these guys are 1-5 in conference. We'll roll through them and go to USC. But no, they come out flat. Arizona, good offense, and then once the defense sees the offense putting up numbers, they're like, okay, we got to get a stop for these guys. This is a big game. We're going to play spoiler, and they did. Good for Arizona. Bear down.
You're 100% right. I mean, Jaden DeLora, I think is how Jaden DeLora.
Yeah. He's a great player.
Has had 5 300-yard passing games this season. Like, that's impressive. That's very impressive.
He's a solid quarterback. Mobile, get outside of the pocket.
Great. Yeah, good player. Kind of, I don't know what how many more years he's got. Probably a couple, but we'll see.
He's only a sophomore. He was a Washington State transfer.
Wow. Yeah, so they've got years with him.
He's playing well. I mean, their offense is going to be good as long as they keep getting weapons. Yeah. I mean, they could be a ranked team if they just build a defense because their offense has the weapons to be good.
Absolutely.
I'm a broken record here, but they have a solid offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't get to watch that game a whole lot, pretty much at all, but I feel like Arizona, for a long time, it was Arizona State was kind of the football school. And at least as of late, I feel like I hear more about Arizona than I do Arizona State, except for like specific players. But when you talk about it as a team as a whole, I hear more about Arizona doing well than Arizona State.
Yeah, I mean, outside of like the coaching change at Arizona State, there hasn't really been much.
Well, when Herm Edwards got hired, it was like, oh, cool, Herm Edwards went there, and then it was like we never heard from them again.
Yeah,
basically.
But I mean, that's how things go at the mid of the Pac-12. You know,
that is.
You don't really hear much about them. I think that game, the rivalry game, in 2 weeks is going to be very fun to watch because I think neither defense is going to get a stop. No. I'm not going to lie. The final score could be like 56-55. Someone's going to miss an extra point.
So what you're saying is hammer the over, probably.
Exactly what I'm saying. It might be set at 80, but hit it anyway. I don't care.
Yeah. Hey, with that score you just had, you're talking that's over 110. So like, if it's at that point, and like, keep going. Yeah. But speaking of kind of a rivalry. At least what I heard from media is that these teams consider it more of a rivalry than their own in-state team rivalry, being Washington upsetting Oregon. I don't want to say we called it because we did say Washington will play Oregon really well.
Yeah,
we really we pretty sure we kind of called that like that's an upset to watch.
Yeah, it's kind of been the theme of Washington football this year. Is sort of like playing up or playing down to their opponent.
Absolutely.
And they haven't really, I think I said this last week, they didn't really, like, all their losses have been close.
Yes.
They played everyone close, no matter what.
Within a score.
Yeah, all their losses have been close. I mean, they give up a lot of, it's like when the offense is clicking, the defense isn't. When the defense is clicking, the offense isn't. And like you saw a bit in the second half of this game where both teams just erupted in the third quarter. It was like long score after long score after long score. And you would think Oregon would eventually like pull away with the momentum they have at home. You're the number 6 team in the country. You win this and you're going to the Pac-12 championship game. But now you just set yourself back. Their defense didn't get the stop they needed. Washington and Michael Penix came out, and Penix had a hell of a game. He threw outside the one interception. He had a hell of a game. It was a lot of fun to watch, too. Him and Bo Nix going back and forth.
It's crazy that Penix had as many completed passes as Bo Nix basically had attempts. Like it's one difference, like immensely different. But yet Irving out here for Oregon had twice as many rushing yards as Washington's running back, so it was like...
Yeah, I mean, Washington was
give and take
more through the air.
Yeah.
It was all through the air. Penix just played a whale of a game, and they
what years Penix?
Like, look at the start of the third quarter here. Oregon touchdown, Washington touchdown, Oregon touchdown, Washington touchdown, Oregon touchdown, Washington interception. And that's when you thought Oregon might have done it. And then Oregon goes and only gets 3. Washington comes back, scores quickly, and then Washington's defense gets to stop.
Yeah.
And then Washington kicks a field goal, and then Bo Nix spikes the Hail Mary 20 yards short of the end zone.
Yikes. But, yeah, so hell of a game by those two teams. And, I mean, like we said, we called that. Where does this set up the Pac-12, though? Because...
so there's a lot that could go on this week. I feel like we could just get that out of the way now. Or do you want to talk about that when we talk about next week? Because we've got UCLA USC next week, and we've got Oregon Utah next week. Let's wait and talk about that for next week. But this definitely sets things up for the Pac-12 to be a little interesting.
It's one of the conferences where it's anybody's game. You've got 4 teams that realistically could all end up in that playoff. Or not in the playoff, but in that championship. And like every game is going to count at this point. Another one, though, we hinted at possibly being an upset, and it almost was. Though, was Alabama Ole Miss.
Just...
And
that game really didn't
had this whole the momentum all the way until the second half.
That's just like what Bama does, though. Like Ole Miss or like any team can go out, get a lead on Bama, and then Bama's like everyone's like, okay, when's Bama gonna come back? And again, it happened. But I just feel like this game wasn't very significant. Like obviously, it's the number 9 team in the nation versus number 11 team in the nation, but like they're just playing for a New Year's Six bowl at this point. Like,
Yeah.
neither of them making the playoff. I don't think Bama has a chance at the SEC championship game. I think it's Georgia, Tennessee confirmed, right? It should be at least.
Well, Georgia and Tennessee are both on the same side of the SEC.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
So they're not going to be the championship game. It's going to be Georgia versus... hold on. That's a great question.
Would it be Alabama?
Hang on. Not rankings. I need to go standings. SEC. Let me find out here for you. So in the East, so the West right now it's actually LSU.
LSU. Totally forgot about them. Yeah. LSU.
Right now it'd be LSU to start. Yeah, and it'd be UGA LSU as our SEC championship game. Even though I think everybody would rather a Tennessee Georgia rematch. Mm-hmm. Right now that's just probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's part of why they didn't put them back into the college football playoff race and are just kind of leaving them down there is because, like, there's just not a realistic way where Tennessee's going to probably bounce back in without Michigan or TCU losing more than one game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I think the world's going to explode if LSU comes out here and beats Georgia and say Michigan or TCU loses, because then you have 3 one-loss SEC teams, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, and you say, oh, LSU can compete with Georgia because they beat Georgia, but then you say, oh, but Tennessee beat LSU, so why don't we throw all these guys in here with Ohio State and say have fun in the college football playoff?
The college football world would just be lit on fire at that point.
You gotta hope. I'm rooting for Georgia in the SEC championship game. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You have to root for Georgia. So you see another, maybe like Michigan slides in, or if TCU wins out, they stay in.
Well, you're gonna see a lot of that. These coming up games as people start to kind of figure out who they are and what they're gonna be as far as with championships. Again, every single game at this point matters if you're in that top 4.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's getting down to like I said, the witching hour. Like this is where college football playoff berths become.
This is where. What is it? It's like at this point, every single game could like make or break your career as a college football player. Right now.
Yep.
Honestly,
especially if you're TCU, because you know damn well if TCU loses one game, they're done. They're
game over.
There has no respect for.
They'd put Tennessee in. Tennessee would be right up in there again. Like, no care.
No doubt.
Yeah. So there's just a lot with that, but also in the same boat for at least this school. Go Pokes. We won a game.
Whoa.
Won the game we should have won.
Yeah.
I guess
made it a little hard on ourselves by not starting Sanders, but so I think what happened was Sanders was available, but we wanted him as healthy as possible for OU.
Yes.
So we held him out, and we wouldn't use him unless it was necessary. But obviously in the fourth quarter, it was necessary. He comes out, gets us the win. He's playing in Bedlam. It'll be a good game.
I think you're completely right on that. I guess the thing that bugs me, he comes out. He's been very bold in his press conferences as of late. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, I've noticed.
But right after the game, he talked about the fact that he'd be playing at Bedlam because he's too competitive for that shit. And to me, I'm like, okay, well, if you were too competitive for that shit, why weren't you in this game? Now, if that's, I recognize that that's Gundy's call. That's not his call, but it's also Gundy's call whether or not he plays next week. So don't be out here guaranteeing something if it's not your call.
Yeah, I mean, it just literally has to be like, we want you as healthy as possible for this big game against our rival.
Now,
and we don't want to risk anything here.
Mind you, this game is huge because if OU wins, they get to go to a bowl game. If not, they got to beat They got to play next week to get into a bowl game, which is crazy to think that Oklahoma is fighting for a bowl game right now.
They're down bad.
But two, right now everyone's not expecting Spencer to start because OU is 7.5-point favorites.
Which is dumb. I mean, if you're stupid, you would take. If you're not stupid, you'd take Oklahoma State plus 7.5 or whatever the hell the line is, 7.5. I don't know why it's at 7.5. Maybe because it's a home game for OU, but
it's a home game for OU. 1, 2. Granted, Spencer has been out for 2.5 games, basically. Maybe realistically 3 because you got the K-State game and you got the half the Iowa State game. Actually, that make 1 game, and then you have the KU game. He was out, so basically 2 games. And he and Gabriel OU, at least stat-wise, are literally the exact same right now.
Really?
On this season. Yes.
Oh my God, they are. Pretty much.
They pretty much are. Spencer has thrown 1 more pick. He also has 50 more yards, and he's also thrown 40 more times than Gabriel. So, okay, that kind of makes sense. I then look at the next spot, if you're looking at the preview for this game, and the running back, and you look at the fact that Gray for OU has over 1,000 yards this year.
Yeah, I think it's
going to be a game where the Pokes have to be able to stop the run. They have to be able to stop the run this week.
It's also a testament to Oklahoma State never really establishing their run game this year.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be a big thing for me because you never really got Richardson going. You had a couple of moments with Nixon, Ollie Gordon.
Very true.
They've been splitting carries too. It's not like we have a whole bell cow, but I mean, Jesus, dude. Gray has 16 more carries than Richardson, and he's got 600 more yards.
Yeah.
Dude, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Our defense might get gashed. Maybe that's what it has to be, the running backs, because our run defense isn't very good. Though our defense played great against Iowa State. Maybe they figured something out. But we'll see.
We're gonna see. I think if you're anybody who's anybody, if Spencer is playing this game, you say, okay, Oklahoma State is winning this.
It's gonna be a close game, yeah, at least.
You might even
it'll be a high scoring game.
You might even take OU at 7.5 just because of the fact you think it's gonna be a close game. 1-score game wouldn't be out of my mind, depending on how these teams play. I could also see just because of the fact that when this offense was playing with Spencer, it was, it was high scoring at times. There were times it wasn't, but it was high scoring at times that I could see if the defense can lock up this very much not being a 1-score game, maybe a 2.5 score game.
Yeah, if the defense plays like they did last week against Iowa State, I think you're talking there's a
very
good chance we win this game
by
we flip the spread. We're the 7.5-point favorites, or we win by 2 scores. Because with Spencer Sanders, anything's possible on offense. There's too many weapons on offense. If we get the run game going, then it's a long game. Because OU's defense is not good.
Has not been good this year.
At all.
And that's kind of where my lean back on is okay, our defense hasn't been great, but we've made really good stops, and our defense has at least been able to show out against certain teams. OU's just has not this year.
They never get the stop they need.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the points scored against, okay, so they gave up 14 in Nebraska, which was kind of a big deal. They gave up 41 to K-State, 55 to TCU, 49 to Texas. They gave up 42 to KU, 13 to Iowa State, which is kind of an outlier. Yeah. 38 to Baylor and 23 to West Virginia.
The outliers are Iowa State, West Virginia, but their offenses aren't good.
Yeah, those offenses aren't good offenses right now, so you just kind of expect it. But they still, mind you, they still lost to West Virginia.
Mm-hmm, they did do that.
It goes to show this team is very beatable right now, and as long as Gundy plays smart, or Gundy makes the right, has these kids playing smart, and Spencer isn't making stupid throws, the 50-50 balls, then Oklahoma State should just walk away with this.
You would think, right? Just based on history of this year and what you've seen from both teams. But then again, it's Bedlam, and literally anything can happen in Bedlam. and we've seen it before. And
anything.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it again. This game could be 14-10, bro. Like, both defenses could come out of nowhere and go crazy. But
both quarterbacks could throw 3 picks this game, and all of a sudden it's just a shit fest. Yeah,
49-35 or something stupid. You never know.
You never know.
I'm excited to watch it. I actually have my hopes up for this game because Spence is going to be back, and I think it'll be a half decent game.
I do.
It's a night game, so I'm not going to miss anything.
No, absolutely not. Week. I'm not. I will be glued to my television for this game at this point. It starts at a great time for me. So.
Yeah. Oh well, I guess USC UCLA.
Yes, I will, but that game will probably be on if you're one of two different types of people. Either you've got one game on the TV and one game on the laptop, or you've got 2 different TVs. I've got a big TV that'll have the Oklahoma State game on, and then I got a little TV in my living room that'll have the USC UCLA game on.
That's
probably. Because that's the only other night game I think that I really give a rip about.
Yeah, Washington, Oregon, but it's not on until late. Or not Washington, Utah, Oregon.
That's not on until late. I'll probably have that up on my phone and fall asleep to it or something like that, honestly. But no, that's the other 2 games that really this next week we kind of want to talk about. This is a big deal for, going back to USC, UCLA. USC, you have to win this.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it's at.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying the winner of Oregon, Utah is going to play the winner of USC, UCLA in the Pac-12 championship game. That's what it's at right now.
And if you're USC right now, realistically, if you're USC, right, and you win this and you go and you win the Pac-12 championship as well, right? Any of those 3 teams that take a loss and bump out with the top 4, you're the next person really in contention, if you think about it.
Yeah, no,
because realistically, they're not going to give it to
shot.
if you're not going to take a 1-loss Tennessee over a 1-loss Pac-12 champion USC for this. You're just not.
I don't 100%. Feel if any of the top 4 loses out, and USC is a conference champion with 1 loss, they should be in.
They're in.
Because
realistically, I don't remember how. I don't know if the losses in the championship how much that affects them. But Ohio State and Michigan are going to play each other in the championship.
I was literally about to say that. They're going to play each other. It's not next. Is it next? It's the week after next week. We'd be talking about it if it was this week. It's the last
Thanksgiving
week of the season. So that team, one of those teams is going to lose, and one of those teams is not going to the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
So, say Ohio State wins, USC wins the Pac-12 championship, they could slide in over Michigan.
Absolutely.
Because you can't put a Tennessee or Michigan team that does not have a conference title in over a team that has the same record, the conference title.
Yep, you can't do it. And so that's where it's gonna. The only time they ever do that is when it's a Big 12 title, because for some reason they just fucking hate the Big 12. But that's the only time I've ever seen that happen. But no, it's huge for USC. And on the same front, the Utah and Oregon, whichever one of y'all loses, your season's done.
Yeah,
until bowl game. You got bowl game, but you're not going to the playoff. You're not going to the Pac-12 championship. Your season is essentially done until bowl game.
That's when you'll see a lot of guys depart, and they won't have the same team for the bowl game, and they'll go to get ready for the draft and whatnot.
Get ready for the draft, enter the transfer portal, shit like that.
That game, both of these games are going to be intense. Is it at Oregon or is it at Utah?
At Oregon. It is at Oregon.
See,
in
if it was at Utah, I would say Utah is taking this thing the entire way. Now it's at Oregon, so it's kind of up in the air because Utah has been playing great football.
No, you're right. Yeah, I'm right. It's in. I saw the name of the stadium and I thought it was Utah for a minute there, but no, it is in fact in Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah, Utah lost to UCLA, but since then they beat USC, they beat Washington State, blew out Arizona, blew out Stanford. They've taken care of business up until this point. And if you win this game, all you have to do is beat Colorado next week, and you're in the Pac-12 championship game. Colorado, you're not going to lose to Colorado. I don't care where you play. You play on the moon, you're not going to lose to Colorado.
You're not going to lose to Colorado.
No.
You're very right on that. But so let's take a look here because I've got the college football playoff rankings up right now. You have Georgia at 10-0, Ohio State at 10-0, Michigan at 10-0, TCU at 10-0. Then you got Tennessee at 9-1 and LSU at 8-2, USC at 9-1, and then Alabama at 8-2. It's interesting how that works. There is a. Actually, I don't know if there is. I'm thinking about, okay, like let's say both like these Georgia and LSU win out, they go and they play their championship game on a fluke or whatever the fuck you want to call it. All of a sudden, LSU is the SEC champion. Does LSU get in as a 2-loss team?
I mean,
because okay, you'd have a 10-1 Georgia or like a 12-1 Georgia or whatever, a 1-loss Ohio State or Michigan. The other one's undefeated. So let's say Ohio State wins. Ohio State bumps up to the 1.
So personally, I think Ohio State, Michigan. If you lose that game, you're done. No matter what, if you lose it, you're done. You don't have the conference title. Because realistically, whoever wins between Ohio State and Michigan is winning the Big Ten.
Yes. So one of those falls out. Realistically, let's just say on a whim, USC is the Pac-12 champion, right? And so then they're obviously going to bump up into that 4 spot, right? TCU goes undefeated, wins the Big 12 championship. They're up at 3. Would you look at LSU and say a 2-loss LSU team should realistically be that would be the 4 if you think about it, because you would hope at least that they're they're higher ranked than USC, but you would expect them to be 4 because they have 2 losses.
Yeah, because you'd have Georgia slide down to
5.
Well, I mean, if they lose the SEC championship game, they're not dropping out of the top 4.
Georgia,
yeah. I just don't see that happening.
So you would have 2 SEC teams in, and you would have Ohio State and unbeaten TCU in, and you would not bring in USC.
Well, so Georgia would slide down to like 3. Ohio State would go to 1. TCU would be at 2, so it'd be TCU, Ohio State, and then the 4th team you'd have to pick between the 2-loss LSU or USC. And one of them you have the SEC championship, the other one you have the Pac-12 championship. LSU has 2 losses, USC has 1. You know exactly who they're going to pick.
You still, I get why they keep Georgia in that situation, just because of the 1 loss and because Georgia's the brand. But realistically, if you're trying to hold the integrity of a playoff, if Georgia loses the SEC championship, which realistically I don't think is gonna happen, like I think that Georgia's gonna continue to win out. But if on a happenstance,
I'm saying what's gonna happen if that happens.
Yeah,
What should happen is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 100%.
Okay. It should be LSU, Ohio State, TCU, and USC.
Yeah.
Right?
I would be at that
right?
point. I would be like Ohio State, TCU.
You don't care about the ACC championship. I mean, Clemson. No, you can't put Clemson in there. Clemson's not going to beat any of those teams.
No, you could see
it out of the question.
Yeah, 100%. Completely unrelated. Go current and then future Big 12 as well, because like Big 12 has 3 teams in right now, with TCU, K-State, and Oklahoma State. But then if you're adding futures as well, you've got Cincinnati at 25 and UCF at 20.
Yeah, it's a good look.
Five ranked teams right now. That's pretty.
And you got to figure.
Hopefully, good luck for the future.
Baylor's going to regroup. I think Baylor is just going through a rough time, rebuilding year for them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Baylor comes back. The question is some of the other teams.
Kansas is trending up.
Hopefully they keep trending up and they don't lose their head coach.
Yeah.
But let's.
Well,
you would what?
I was just gonna say, as much as I want TCU to win out, I really think Kansas State has a fighting chance at beating them in the Big 12 championship game.
Oh, 100%. I'm with you on that. I want TCU to win out. I like the representation. I'm worried about how people will react with Coach Is if TCU is to win, but I think that the Big 12 as a whole almost really needs... They really kind of just do. They need TCU to win out.
Yeah, I mean it should happen with the weapons TCU has on offense. Like, are you serious? That offense is disgusting, first of all. But I kind of saw Duggan. We didn't really talk about the TCU Texas game, but that game, it was a little sus at first, and then TCU in the second half made the big plays they need to, and their defense. I think their defense really stood out to the committee too. That was pretty big. I think that's why they stayed.
The whole Texas to 10.
If it was a high scoring game and Texas was like leading for a lot, and TCU had to come back again, then I would think, okay, they're gonna move him. They're gonna move them out, and they're gonna slide someone like LSU or Tennessee up into the 4 spot.
Absolutely.
But because they held Texas,
the 10 points,
college football playoff committee's the love of their lives.
Yeah,
you have to respect TCU.
There were a lot of games that were kind of low scoring that you didn't expect. I mean, you think about that game, we kind of expect that to be a high scoring game. I was kind of shocked at LSU Arkansas that only was 13-10.
That was a little weird.
Go Arkansas for doing that, but like, wow. Baylor didn't score as much as I think we all kind of expected. Syracuse finally has just flopped completely. As far as scoring goes.
That's kind of what we expected at that point.
That's pretty much it as far as I know or care.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm with you there.
But let's jump over to the men's league because, oh boy, was this weekend crazy. And by that, I mean one game was just absolutely ballistic and everything else was just kind of like wild.
Just shouldn't have happened.
The Vikings over the Bills?
I was also thinking the Commanders over the Eagles. That shouldn't have happened either.
Nah, that shouldn't have. I want to talk about that, but I'm going to wait on that because realistically, the one that went bananas was the last minute and a half of Vikings Bills.
That was the game of the year, 100%.
Absolutely. But there were so many things. With that.
Yeah, it's the Vikings did it again.
It couldn't have played out better for them.
24-10 at the half. They were down 24-10 at the half, and if I'm a Bills fan, I'm sitting there like, we're the Bills. We got this, but everybody else, I think, was thinking, well, the Vikings have come from behind victors in a lot of their games outside of the game. This is a huge win for the Vikings. It's
absolutely monstrous.
It's a huge win for the Vikings because coming into this, everyone's like, these guys beat cupcakes. Their loss was to the best team in football, the Eagles, and all they did was blitz them, and they threw the game away.
Yeah.
But now you come out, and Kirk Cousins, had a little help, obviously, with the
catch of the year.
The catch of the year, and then the fumble from Josh Allen, which threw the game away.
That's fair.
He came out and he made a statement. It was a statement win.
He did.
You went into Buffalo and you got to win.
Great job, Kirk. But literally things couldn't have played out any better for them because, like, I was texting you when they ran that QB sneak on the goal line on 4th down. First off, dumbest play call in my opinion. You have one of the best running backs in the league, and you hand it off to your quarterback, who is something that doesn't have any a whole lot of mobility. You don't see Kirko running around the field or anything like that. So I thought you were talking about Josh Allen's sneak. I was like, no, that's what you're supposed to do. No. If Josh Allen should absolutely be sneaking the ball because he is basically their running back along with their quarterback.
Yeah, you give the ball to Dalvin Cook or you throw a one-on-one ball to Justin Jefferson. That's
not exactly what you do. Why do you see? So for them to get the ball on the one, there to be the fumble. Which I don't think that was supposed to be a sneak at all. I think that straight up was a muffed snap.
You think so?
I think it was a muffed snap or something like that because it didn't look like he was trying to take it and go forward with it. It looks like it snapped and he tried to fall on it, to me.
I just can't say he's the quarterback that you should really be sneaking.
Oh no, I was talking Josh Allen's fumble, but no.
Oh, Josh Allen. Oh, I mean,
we're on two different things.
Geez, we're on different pages again. There's two quarterback sneaks that were huge in this game. We're just on different pages.
Extremely important, but no, like we both said, you shouldn't be sneaking the ball with Kirk Cousins. But then on Josh Allen's side, I don't know if that was a fumble in the goal line or if that was a muff snap. Like, to me, it looked like a muff snap, and so that's why I'm like,
100% it was.
Okay, he that fumble happens. You can't completely put that on Josh Allen. That's a little bit on the center too. Like, there's some sort of communication or chemistry or something like that just got off in that moment.
Yeah, I think
but
they showed a replay from behind the end zone, and it just missed his hands
completely.
It just missed his hands and it hit his knee or something, and it fell to the ground, and it was just chaos.
If you are the Vikings, think about it this way. Dalvin Cook runs the ball in on that 4th and goal, and you get the touchdown, right? You give the ball back to Josh Allen with a decent amount of time. He's done more with less. Realistically, this game comes down to a last-minute field goal or last-second field goal by Bass to win the game. Instead, you miss it. It works out perfectly for you. Instead of getting the safety and having to be down 1 and having to drive your way down to win the game by 2, realistically for a field goal, you get the touchdown that ties the game, and then you get to go and win in overtime. That's just bonkers to me. The odds of that happening.
Yeah, the stars aligned really for Minnesota in this one. And then I think Kirk Cousins played well in overtime too. Justin Jefferson had a game of his life, but I mean, we knew he was one of the top 3 receivers in the league. If not the best, he's definitely top 3 after this one. Him and Diggs both had good games. But then you see this and you come into the question, how healthy is Josh Allen's elbow? I thought he looked fine, personally. When he was throwing the ball, I thought he looked fine.
I thought he looked fine too.
Maybe it didn't have the zip on some of the throws he wanted, but him not having zip is an average quarterback's throw.
Him not having zip is Kirk Cousins.
So. I just can't think that. Yeah, no kidding. I just can't think that's an excuse when you made the guy throw 43 times.
And here's my thing: if he had an elbow problem, right, and he couldn't put as much zip on the ball, why are you having him throw so much?
Mm-hmm.
I get you don't like Devin Singletary and Nyheim Hines and James Cook are not they're not the greatest running backs in the world, but they can still run the ball.
Yeah, they came out and said though that Josh Allen playing this week won't have any further negative effects on his elbow, so I think that's implying there's definitely issues and he might be feeling pain. But, it can't get worse.
They were giving him some hell of a drug because you didn't even notice when he was out there on the field.
Yeah, he looked good. I thought he looked fine. Outside of, he threw 2 picks, but,
don't worry. His arm's going to get a rest this week.
He can't be perfect.
But we'll talk about that later. His arm getting a rest this week. Other games, man. There are games that, you and I have in here that, we want to talk about. The Seahawks kind of flopping against the Bucs.
I didn't watch that game. I was in bed, but that's just I just wanted to bring that up because it was the last thing I expected. Honestly, I thought the Seahawks were going to stay hot, but the travel, I guess, to Germany.
I didn't expect it to be that way either. I caught the second half of this game. Wasn't anything. I wasn't I wasn't actively watching it. It was on my TV, but I was doing other things.
Fair.
And so, Tom Brady is 2-0 since his divorce was finalized.
They're trending up. Bucs are trending up.
Tom Brady also is 11-2 in overseas games as of this.
I probably should have thought about that before I bet on the Seahawks. I didn't bet on the Seahawks. I was going to, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Glad I didn't.
And even then, there were things in this game where you were like, okay, Tampa Bay could literally give this game to the Seahawks. Things weren't falling into place for them as they were offensively just trying to drive. Just didn't work out for them.
Yeah, the Seahawks had to slow down at some point, right?
They had to come back to the level that we all remembered Geno Smith being, not the Geno Smith that's been playing this whole year.
And that's Geno Smith didn't even play a bad game. Honestly, like looking at the stat sheet, I don't think he played a bad game. I don't know if he missed some big throws, but like realistically, neither quarterback played a bad game. The issue is the Seahawks like to run the ball with Kenneth Walker, and Kenneth Walker had 10 carries for 17 yards.
Yeah. But also, I mean, you kind of expect that with what this team should have been on the Tampa Bay side. Their defensive front was one of the scariest on paper going into the year.
Yeah, but they've had their troubles stopping the run.
Yes.
They've had their troubles anywhere on defense.
Yes.
I just thought the Seahawks, with the way they've been playing, at the level they've been playing, and the level Kenneth Walker's been playing, that they could do a little bit better. And then on the flip side, they didn't stop the run. The Bucs ran the ball they've ran all year.
Pretty much.
Like they handed it off 44 times, or not 44 times. They handed it off 38 times.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
That's just showing the vulnerabilities of the Seahawks, I guess. I mean,
but I think on paper, at least coming into this season, we've expected there to be vulnerabilities on this team, and we haven't seen them yet. They've been riding this high of the games they've been playing, and the momentum that they've had, and the way that Geno Smith has been playing, and the way Pete Carroll's been getting them going, and the way their rookies are just balling out of their minds right now, and like it all had to come back to earth at some point. I don't know if I really expected it to be this game, but like we said, things kind of have to trend back to where they had to be. Like the Bucs are going to have to trend up because we know they're a good team and we know Tom Brady's a really good quarterback. And you've got Seattle, who's technically not in a rebuild, but in a rebuild, and has to level back down to where you don't want your draft pick to be, at least your normal draft pick, to be like 25. Right, when you're trying to rebuild. So
yeah, but I mean they've got 3 wins coming up right here. I mean they've got Vegas, they've got the Rams, and they've got Carolina in the next 3 games.
Vegas is their next game?
Yeah, they play Vegas. They play Vegas in Seattle. They're 3.5-point favorites. And then they've got the Rams, who are very beatable, and they've got Carolina. So that realistically they could be 9-4 coming back to Seattle for a home game against the Niners.
I hate to break it to you. Oh, because the Seahawks are on bye next week.
Or sorry, they play Vegas next week.
The week after. I was like, next week the Vegas Raiders play the Broncos, and it's going to be the shitter bowl of the week.
You're right. I mean, hey, same thing. You get a bye, and then you get 3 shitter games. You're 9-4, and you're facing the 49ers. Like, it's a good look for. I mean, sure you lost this game, but you could very well make the playoffs. You
could chalk it up to a whole bunch of things. You could chalk it up to the travel. You could chalk it up to a whole bunch of stuff. Like, don't let this loss to the Bucs be what stops your momentum. Be given the fact that there were so many factors that came into this game.
Yeah, you're going to be 8-4, 9-5, going back to Seattle to play against the 49ers in a very big divisional game.
Yeah,
eventually 4 weeks out.
Yes. Very much with you. Real quick, just I know Diesel's not here, but I do want to say this Bears team to me has me excited. Just as a fan of football.
Justin Fields is him.
Justin Fields finally is becoming the player that we've all felt like he needed to be, and that he could be. And he's just now showing it to us.
Because he's finally using his legs. The play calls are finally letting him use his legs. I mean, he's shown sparks of it, but they've never really schemed it.
And now they're scheming it, and it's
finally happening.
Finally working. You're finally understanding. And I get they've lost some of these games where he's played immensely great, but that's also because you traded away fucking everything on your defense.
But that's just a building process. I mean, you're working your franchise quarterback up in Justin Fields, who's establishing himself as a franchise quarterback.
Yes.
And you can build a defense in the offseason. You have money.
You have the most cap space in the NFL in free agency. You've gotten a bunch of draft picks from your guys that you traded. Not necessarily first-round draft picks, but draft picks nonetheless. You can bolster your defense, and all we're saying is use a second-round pick on a wide receiver, and you're great. You're great. Cole Kmet is that dude at tight end for you. You've got good running backs right now in Herbert and Montgomery. And you get one more wide receiver with Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool.
You've got a good team.
You've got a great team.
Your offensive line, your O-line, though.
Your O-line needs a little bit of help. But, like, that's what I was saying. Your defense can be used to bolster up your draft can be used to bolster up your defense a lot. You can use some of that free agency money to help a little bit, really completely fix your O-line. And, like, this team is a team that I could look at next year being a playoff team.
If they make the right moves, yes, I could see that.
Yes.
You get
that's a skill player. Obviously, I'm saying that. Like if
exactly what you said, they know what they need to do. If Justin Fields stays consistent and at least plays a little bit, even like consistently a little bit less than what he's doing right now, you're gonna be a playoff team.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's going to be plenty of people
back to what he did earlier in the year or late last year. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to revert back to that just because Matt Nagy's not his coach anymore from the stuff from last year. Earlier this year, I just think it was the fact that Eberflus was still trying to was trying to be a coach. He hadn't been a head coach before. Your offensive coordinator probably hasn't been an offensive coordinator before, or if they have, he's probably not as experienced, and so they're just trying to understand the chemistry of the team so far. You keep rolling the way you're rolling right now. You go into the offseason with a couple of wins and like a build, like, hey, we're kind of building this. Players are going to notice that. Chicago is a big market that players wouldn't mind being in. You've got the ability to bring in some pretty well-known free agents. Probably some really good players, too.
Mm-hmm. You do. I mean, I liked what you said about... go Lions. Everyone's happy for it. It's a feel-good story for the Lions. Mm-hmm. But I like what you said about Eberflus trying to like figure out how to be a coach and sort of like settle himself in with the team. And I think we saw it wasn't like a humbling moment, but like an eye-opening moment. And I mentioned it last week, I think, after the 7-point game against Washington on primetime. Everyone kind of counted out Justin Fields in the offense. And then you come back on primetime, you beat the Patriots. You put up 33 on the Patriots defense. You put up 29 on the Dallas defense. You put up 32 on the Dolphins defense, which is, shaky, but their pass rush is really
impressive,
good though. And then you put up 30 on the Lions defense, which isn't, the Lions defense is good, but you put up consistent, basically 4 straight 30-point games on a team where you looked at this offense after that Washington game and you're like, this team's in the dumps. Like, there's no way. This is the last.
After that Washington game, you were talking about Chicago possibly having like the first pick in the draft.
Yeah, you're like, these guys suck.
Like, it was going to be between them and the Texans to figure out who was going to have the first pick, and then the second, and then it was going to be Lions at 3rd and Broncos 4. Like, that's kind of where everybody was.
But it's also like Fields has his confidence. He's playing confident, which is huge.
It is huge, and that's why I'm super happy for the kid, because he's playing the way that everybody felt like he could play, and he's got that confidence. It's showing, and this team's gonna be good in a year, maybe 2, before his rookie contract is up for sure.
Mm-hmm. You would hope.
You would hope. That's very fair. We do got to touch on it. But congrats to Jeff Saturday as well.
Oh, man.
For getting a win against a team that you said was garbage on Twitter a month ago.
Called him out and then packed up his words. Good for him.
Yeah, and I really hope this is something that isn't necessarily my own thought, but is something that is, I think, important in the fact that the hiring of Jeff Saturday for that role is not only unprecedented, but kind of weird because he doesn't have any experience. You have other coaches that are probably more worthy on that team. But 2 things that we saw out of that I think were really important is, one, your offensive play caller and your offensive coordinator, at the moment, is a 30-year-old kid. I shouldn't say kid, but 30-year-old dude. He's young. He's aggressive. I like seeing that out of the Colts. 2, because you also saw that like a former player can build a relationship and trust in current players like that.
Yeah, I
mean, he had 1 week with those guys, and they were playing the best they've played all year. And they were without Shaq Leonard. Michael Pittman didn't really play super great, but he was there. Your best players were Paris Campbell and Jonathan Taylor finally showed up. Like,
yeah, Jonathan Taylor had a resurgence.
This team, I'm not saying this team's going to go undefeated, but to get a win when everyone chalked it up as they were going to lose every other game the rest of the season, and realistically, they can win at least one or two more, and I wouldn't count that bad for Jeff Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'd be bad, especially. I mean, my biggest takeaway from this hiring is that I think if this wasn't just a fluke, and if Saturday continues to win, then I think you're going to be seeing less hirings of like the super analytical guys that are like, oh, like I was an offensive coordinator at a D3 school, I was a defensive coordinator at a D2 school, and then I went to a junior college, and I was a head coach there, and then I was an assistant to the analytical department for this NFL team, and then I worked my way up. You're going to be seeing like, I can't really like explain it the best. That's not like the best way of explaining it.
It's going to be player guys. You're going to get guys that are connecting with the players, that are all about the players.
Like, super numbers, like I trained my whole life to be a head coach. Those guys don't like jive with the players.
Bro, look at the Chargers.
We're okay.
You're okay.
We're hurt. We're hurt. I mean, we're hurt, bro. Did you see the defensive game plan Staley put together with how bad our defense? We'll talk about this in a second. Bring this up in a second. Shut up. Talking about Jeff Saturday.
He has a schedule that is really wonky because he now goes to play Philadelphia, which is they're gonna get the more like realistically, if you beat Philadelphia, best fucking interim hire in history. I feel like.
Yeah, he's getting max deal.
Exactly. Jim Irsay will throw the fucking book at him. Say write whatever you want on that goddamn check. You then you have Pittsburgh. Realistically, I think they can beat Pittsburgh. I think that's very probable. Then you get Dallas.
That should be a loss.
Should be a loss. Hypothetically, realistically, that's a loss. If Dallas plays the way they just played against Green Bay, it might not be. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Correct.
Vikings. Definitely a loss.
That's a loss.
Chargers.
A loss. I'll be at the game. Kidding, I'm not going to be at the game, but it should be a loss.
I was like, if you're at the game, last time you were at the game, that team lost. So, like...
5 weeks from now, the Chargers will be almost fully healthy.
You would fully expect the Chargers to win and be healthy at that point. I'm not discrediting that. I'm
not fully healthy, excuse me, but like they'll have
mostly
their
healthy
main guys back.
Yeah. Then you go Giants. I could see them winning against the Giants, depending on how the Giants' schedule has turned out. Giants have been pretty decent. These two teams are kind of, as far as game plans go, kind of similar.
It's going to be the quickest game in NFL history because it's just going to be handoff
all day. And then you get Texans. So let's say they beat the Giants. You're talking 1, 2, 3 more wins out of the next. What is that?
He got thrown into the fire with his schedule he's playing.
Yeah. 1, 2,
7 games. Go 3-4 in 7 games.
So 3-4 in 7 games. So in his last 8 games, he goes 4-4. As an interim head coach that has no professional coaching experience, anybody who's looking at that says, "Damn, I'd take that as a win."
So even if you do go 4-4, it's basically how the team looks. If they're competitive if it's a competitive 4-4, then you might want to keep them around. But if you're getting dogged in some of these games, then you're like,
well, like I expect them to get dogged in some of these games. Like that's just you're gonna get dogged against Minnesota. You realistically should get dogged against Philadelphia. Like those two games, I look at and you're like, you should absolutely be dogged on both those. They could. But, like, if you're within 2 scores on both those games, I count that as a win. Because it's like, like those two teams offensively should absolutely destroy you.
Yeah, realistically, yeah. But I mean, we'll see.
We will see.
It's a good first win. I mean, you get the momentum. The players are fighting for you, so that's great. They want to play for you. I think they're going to come into this game fired up against Philadelphia, which they should. It's a home game. You got to win. I'm sure the fans are rallying behind him because he just snapped a 3-game losing streak to teams you probably shouldn't have lost to.
Yeah.
And here we are.
So okay. Sorry, I got a little off track of what things you want to talk about, but like there were just some things I wanted to talk about today. Packers Cowboys. This game I did somewhat watch as well because my dad is a Cowboys fan.
I watched the second half.
It's Aaron Rodgers against Dallas. I don't really know what we expected.
I expected Dallas to kill them.
Which
I thought was going to happen, and then the fourth quarter happened.
First off, when you're going into this game, like, realistically, yes, Dallas should have won this game just because of the way that the two teams have been playing recently. Christian Watson finally became the player that I think we all kind of expected him to be, and then he just said, "Oh, you guys thought I had a good game? Let me just add like 2 more fucking touchdowns on top of that." Like
deep ball threat.
He finally became that, and like everybody his draft comparison was compared, like they said he's been the most athletic receiver at his size since Julio and Megatron. You know, they make those crazy production resemblances or whatever, and I'm like, this kid's probably gonna be a flop in 3 years, but he finally kind of showed the person that they were talking about on draft day.
I mean, it was needed because, with Lazard being not completely healthy, he has a banged-up shoulder.
Yeah.
And you have realistically no other weapons outside of Sammy Watkins or Aaron Jones in the slot. You needed this to happen.
Randall Cobb's there, too, but he's not really a weapon.
Dude can't run, bro. He's on crutches soon.
Fair enough. Fair point.
I think the most impressive thing to me about the Packers offense in this game was their ability to run the ball against the Dallas front.
Holy crap. Aaron Jones had himself a career game.
Had a hell of a game. Considering the circumstances, I would say it was a career game. And Aaron Rodgers said it after the game. We're not dead. He said, hey, we're 4-6. We're not dead. Now you got a game against Tennessee, whose defense is really good.
That could be a fun game. I can't wait to talk about that game.
Oh, Jesus. Well, you got Tennessee and then Philly back-to-back, so you might be dead. But
if you come out of the Tennessee game with a win, even if you lose to Philly, you're not dead.
Yeah, you're 5-7.
You're fighting at that point.
Going to Chicago, who Aaron Rodgers owns.
Yeah. If you're looking at playoffs at that point, I mean, right now, Green Bay is, what is it? It's 7, right? There's 7 teams in the playoff. So they're a game, or 2 games. Well, I guess it's technically a game and a half behind. Because San Francisco is 5-4. Because I'm guessing Green Bay hasn't had their bye yet. So,
yes, that's correct, I think.
So would that mean that they're roughly a game behind? You would hope that they would kind of have to win up more than San Francisco, but
I think San Francisco is going to be fine. They're going to make the playoffs. They should with the weapons they have.
Yeah,
I think the Chargers' game plan this week was just really good. Defensive game plan, at least, was really good.
You're really just trying to, at this point, beat out Washington, because right now all 4 of the NFC East are in the playoff, or not almost, but you're trying to beat out Washington, San Francisco. Washington's the one that's competing with you. It's possible, if San Francisco absolutely duds out, that all 4 of the NFC East could be in the playoff.
They're just not going to dud out. There's no way they're going to dud out.
I don't think they will either. I'm with you on that. But
I think Washington will dud out.
I don't think so. They just announced Heineke's going to be their quarterback for the rest of the year. So
whatever.
I
took
have
a
full
knee
faith.
the dude that took a knee at the death with no intention of drawing a penalty, but drew a lucky penalty. Eagles should have won that game.
Eagles absolutely should have won that.
way.
I'm not denying that Eagles should not have won that game. Eagles should have 100% won that game. But Taylor Heineke is the quarterback that can actually win for the Commanders, not fucking Carson Wentz.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, for sure. He brings the most versatility, and he can throw the ball. He can
He gives the ball to Terry fucking McLaurin.
Yeah, like who he needs to.
Yeah,
and then when he doesn't have McLaurin, he uses his other options like Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel, like
absolutely
as
he fucking should. And so great for Taylor Heineke, but man, like the Eagles got fucking chipped this game.
That was horrible.
That was some of the worst reffing I think I've seen this season.
It was really bad. They missed the face mask, and then they missed.
The fucking penalty when he's down.
Here's my thing: you didn't miss the call, but like as an NFL ref, you kind of have to call that because the quarterback gave himself up, and then there was a second. But it's really hard for a defender, especially coming after the quarterback in crunch time like this on third down. You're trying to get after this guy. You're not going to pull up until you see him on the ground, and if he's on a knee, like I don't know. Like I'm still going to like get after him, and I think he realized it last second and tried to pull up, and they still threw the flag.
Yeah, 100%. That's the problem that you have in some of these, like with some of these penalties and some of this stuff, is the quarterback has more time to make the decision than the defending player does, because he can drop down to a knee like that, and all of a sudden he's down. The defender, if he is full speed coming at them, he does not have the ability to move his body and not hit him in that same time frame. That's not realistic.
And if he gets hurt trying to avoid him, which is very possible, then it looks bad on the NFL.
It looks bad on the player and the NFL, because then that player got hurt for no fucking reason.
Yeah, he got hurt because he didn't want to take 15 yards, and now his season's over because he tore his ACL trying to jab into the ground and move out of the way.
Absolutely. It's the dumbest fucking thing. Like, I get protecting your quarterbacks. I also get the fact that sometimes you get the fucking consequences of your actions.
Yeah.
On that. And, like, in that situation, Taylor Heineke probably should have just gotten rocked, and they probably should just live with it.
It should have happened, but because of the rules, you don't want 15. The guy tried to pull up, so he didn't hit him as hard as he should, and then Heineke got up like he just won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
It's dog water, but no more undefeateds.
I mean, they're probably going to be a 1 or 2 loss team realistically. So
if they're a 1-loss team and you win out the whole rest of the way, and it's just
that game, you count it as an undefeated season.
I in my head, I count it as an undefeated season because it's like realistically you got fluked in a lot of ways in that game. Now, if you're a Dallas fan like my dad, you don't count. You say, "Hi, you lost," but that's just what it is. You're gonna get pretty heated probably on our conversation of the Chargers, so I'll start with the Chiefs, so that way then we can save the heat for a minute. I have 2 takeaways from this game that I was really happy about.
I think what happened was expected.
I think what happened was absolutely expected. Patrick Mahomes chalks up another 4-touchdown game, which is huge. Kadarius Toney, welcome to the fucking team. The fact that he had the ability to moss one of those guys, basically, and adjust his gloves before he jumped, like he had the time for that. That GIF will forever live on my phone from that video. Great for him to get his first career touchdown,
which is
wild,
insane. It just shows the things he can do for the Chiefs' offense. Opens it up way more. He was 5'9" and caught a jump ball between 2 defenders. That was a sick catch.
It was a super sick catch. It's weird. You call about the stuff he gets for the Chiefs offense. I think it also showed the incompetence of the Giants organization from before, not being able to utilize him well.
I think they tried to. Daniel Jones just isn't good.
That's also fair. It's very different to go from Daniel Jones to Patrick Mahomes.
You see what happens when you get a great quarterback that can do things for you.
Yes. MVS gets his first touchdown as a Chief. Pretty pumped about that. I really thought that MVS was gonna shine this year, and he hasn't shown what I was hoping for. So
Too many weapons.
I think so too. I think the wide receiver room was just too full, and so he was just gonna hurt on that front, and that's okay. As long as we're winning games. Noah Gray getting a touchdown. He's a guy, if he wasn't freaking like, he's older than I expect. And if he wasn't, I would be like, he's our replacement for Travis Kelce. Actually, I shouldn't say that. He's 23 right now. He's 10 years younger than Kelce. So he's got plenty of time. But, man. Speaking of which, Kadarius Toney's also only 23. So Noah Gray, somebody that I felt like was going to do well with the team over time, and I'm just kind of glad he finally got it. I didn't have any I didn't have anything from this game that I was really like, oh, that didn't expect happened, that that fucking player should have been ejected for the fucking rock on Juju, but
yeah, that was a massive.
Especially with
is he okay? Is he in the concussion protocol?
He's in the concussion protocol. He says he's fine. His mom said he's fine.
He's not going to play this week.
But I would not expect him to play this week. Just more so the organization erring on the side of caution.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that as a Chargers fan. Like, he shouldn't play this week.
He really shouldn't play this week. I think we can beat the Chargers without him, so it's okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you want to talk? Let's talk about your game.
So, at first I was pissed because in the second half we didn't score any points. I still think we should fire Joe Lombardi to the moon because he can come out. We opened that game, and I was like, yo, we got a chance. We schemed for this game. That opening drive, Herbert was lights out. Herbert looked great. He was the same Herbert we saw from the Falcons game. Yep. The play calling was good. The run game was whatever on the first drive. Mm-hmm. But then it just got too repetitive after that, and it was the same thing over and over and over again. We didn't score a touchdown. We had 3 field goals in the second quarter, and then after that, it was just nothing. Because until I think the fourth quarter, we tried running on first down every single time, and we just could not get the run game going. Mm-hmm. We couldn't get the run game going at all. And usually, with Justin Herbert, that hasn't been a problem. But you don't have Keenan Allen, you don't have Mike Williams, you don't have Jalen Guyton, you have DeAndre Carter, Josh Palmer, Gerald Everett.
And Gerald Everett went out in the game, too.
Yeah, Gerald Everett got hurt, which is amazing. And then Trey McKitty, who dropped the touchdown in the second quarter, which would have definitely changed the game in my eyes. He's our backup tight end. He's a blocker. He's not a pass catcher. And he dropped a touchdown, which pissed me off. But the play calling on offense, at least, I've been saying it the whole year. With these guys, you got to try to scheme someone open. But it was still like we were running sticks, like little curl routes and everything. And it's just not going to work, especially against a defense like the 49ers. You got to use motion, don't run jet sweeps at Nick Bosa. Run jet sweeps away from Nick Bosa. We tried that. We tried that and we lost 5 yards.
Yes.
I could probably call plays. If he gave me the playbook in the second half, I probably would have at least gotten us 3 or 4. 3 points or a touchdown. But aside from that, considering all the injuries on defense, we lost 2 of our defensive linemen. I thought the defense played outstanding.
You held them to only 22 points when we're talking about their offense was back at full strength, and with how electric that offense can be. 22, 3 touchdowns realistically isn't that bad, honestly.
No, I mean, they got 2 touchdowns and 4 field goals, I think it was.
Yeah. That's what it actually was. It just was close to that.
Yeah,
because you got like 1, 2, 3 field goals.
Or they miss an extra point. 3 field goals and
they missed an extra point in the fourth quarter.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, the offense played well. We forced a turnover. We put pressure on Jimmy G when we needed to, which was good. I think it was very bend, don't break, but for what it's worth, we stopped the run when we needed to, and our red zone defense looked really good. But it gives me confidence going into the Chiefs game next week because I know our corners are good. It's just a matter of can we cover Travis Kelce and can we get after Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
But that's usually how it is against the Chiefs. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are back at practice this week. That is great.
And they're expected to play.
Even if one of those guys plays, I think we have a good shot against the Chiefs because no matter what, we play the Chiefs close. No matter what.
It always is.
Well, I mean, if we didn't have Keenan Allen this time around or Mike Williams, I don't think we play the Chiefs close, honestly. I think you guys beat us by 2-3 touchdowns. But if we have one of them back, and if the defense can replicate what they did last week, take it into this week, use it as momentum, then we're going to have a good game.
It's going to be good. I mean, personally, I feel like they're always good games. Like, anytime the Chiefs and the Chargers play, it's always a good game. I mean, that's why it got flexed, right? Is because it's always a good game.
I mean, I don't know why it did because we're so hurt, but whatever.
It's always a good game. Herbert Mahomes. It's always a good game.
Herbert DoorDashers. Against Mahomes. We'll see. I think it'll be a good game. I'm looking forward to it next week. I mean, I'm not looking forward to it, but we'll see. No. I don't know. I just can't say much yet. I don't know what to expect.
I understand entirely. Let's talk about some other games for this week that we're kind of excited about. I mean, how do we not talk about the fact that the Browns and Bills are going to have 2 feet of snow at minimum?
My buddies and I are already on the Browns plus 8.5 because yep. I trust Nick Chubb and the Browns' run game
and Kareem Hunt way more than everything else.
The Bills' defense is good. Don't get me wrong, but are you really going to be able to throw in this?
Yeah, probably I don't know. If there's any wind with it, you can't. And there's rarely snow without wind.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's like a magical Christmas evening or something. But I mean,
it's in a Hallmark movie. Fuck off.
Yeah, there's going to be 2 feet of snow on the ground, at least 2 feet of snow. There are some projections that say 4 feet.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say minimum 2 feet. Minimum 2 feet.
It's going to be nuts. That's going to be the. It'll be on Red Zone. I'm going to be watching Red Zone, but it'll be on that.
I might.
I'm looking forward to that.
I might watch that whole game. If it's on here, I might watch that whole game.
And no matter what, those Bills fans are going to be rowdy.
They're going to be loud and
they're
rowdy.
They're
going to be very drunk.
Oh, it's crazy. They're going to be blasted. I think it was in Cleveland too. Cleveland fans would do the same thing. Not as rowdy as Buffalo, but they would be crazy.
They would be crazy as well. But yeah, no, not the same.
Yeah.
What do we got else? Cowboys at Vikings. Vikings to be off of a big win.
Yeah, Dallas is favored by 1.5.
Wow.
I think it's because of their defensive line, personally.
That's crazy to me, especially with it being at Minnesota. So realistically,
I think Jefferson's going to cook Diggs, though, and that's going to be the difference in this game.
Damn, dude. Fuck. He might. I mean, Dallas' secondary hasn't shown to me anything that they could really stop somebody like Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you're gonna. I would expect 5 or 6 sacks on the day. Just because they can get after the quarterback really well. Correct. But, Minnesota's probably going to win that one. And I'm okay with that. Sorry, Dad.
Win that one. No, they should win that one. I mean, you're a home underdog. It's not a primetime game. You're playing a team that's coming off a loss. You're coming off. It's a hangover type game.
Yeah.
But also, like, you got to figure they're going to reinstate that, like, this is still a tough team.
Yeah.
Like, we know who we're playing right now.
Absolutely.
They're going to have fans in our stands. Like, we can't just get hungover for this one and lose this one. Like, every game matters.
No, you're 100% right on that. And it's going to be very, what's the term I'm going to use here? It's going to be a telling game for somebody like Dak Prescott. Because it's not that the Vikings defense hasn't been good, but there are clearly sections of the Vikings defense that are worse than others. And you have to beat those places.
Yeah, it's a game Dak Prescott has to come out and say, hey, like, I don't know, like, how to really...
He's going to come out and make a statement. He's got
CeeDee Lamb has to have another
play well. Yeah, CeeDee Lamb's going to have another alpha game, as I call it, where he just kind of shows he is ready to be the wide receiver one, and you're going to have to really lean on Zeke and Pollard and say, okay, we're going to play this to you, but if Dak throws a pick, that could spell game really quick. Really quick on this. Like one
Especially
pick.
With how high-powered the Vikes offense is.
One pick, it's game over pretty much.
If Dalvin Cook gets going, which after what the Vikings saw last week, they might try to like really scheme Dalvin Cook into this one, which you should either way. But you saw what Aaron Jones did, and
I think Dalvin Cook is better. I think Dalvin Cook is better than Aaron Jones. You know, in my opinion,
too.
Yeah,
you got to get him going, and then that opens up play action. That opens up Justin Jefferson. That opens up T.J. Hawkinson.
Opens up the whole team.
Who has been a great addition to this Viking offense, by the way. 19 targets in 2 games. He's not like a big play guy, but he's like not a check down either, but just like a sure. It's like a Mahomes Kelsey kind of like a Walmart version of Mahomes Kelsey, like a trusty target.
Dollar General.
You know, Dollar General Mahomes Kelsey. It's like he's a trusty target that like you look for when someone else isn't open.
That trade is going to go down as a great trade because before that, Kirk Cousins was one of the lowest percentage quarterbacks to their tight ends. Like when it came
Which
to
is hilarious because now 19 targets to Hawk in 2 games.
It's like, oh man, like we got this guy that can play. Let's fucking throw it.
You can play it. Let's go.
We already talked about Chiefs Chargers. Titans at Packers, our Thursday night game. I think we kind of said this before. I think Green Bay, this is kind of almost a must win for you.
Mm-hmm. It is, especially, I mean, they're playing the Eagles next after that, I think, or unless they get a bye, and then it's the Eagles.
No, they go Titans, then Eagles, then Chicago, Rams, Miami, Vikings, Lions.
Oh, they have their bye after Chicago. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you get back-to-back tough games. You've seen what the Titans' defense can do. You've seen, I mean, you know they have Derrick Henry coming.
Yeah.
Which, if you can stop Derrick Henry, you're probably going to beat the Titans. If you can't stop Derrick Henry, and they didn't look very good against Tony Pollard last week. Pollard had a good game. I think he had like 22 for 120 or something like that, and a touchdown.
Yeah. Wasn't bad. Wasn't great, but wasn't bad.
If they get Derrick Henry going, they get a couple of stops on defense, it's tough. But if Mr. Watson comes out, catches a couple deep balls from Aaron Rodgers, different game.
Very different game. It's going to be interesting because, like I talked about last week, this defense for Tennessee is very scrappy, very much likes to get physical. Christian Watson, if you can get him going, that's going to be huge.
I think, honestly, this game could go either way.
It could go... I fully could say it could go either way. You could see both sides winning this. There's, I would hope you can expect that for a lot of games in the NFL, that like someone could win either way. There are obviously games that that's not the case, but like, just looking at the rest of the slate, Chicago, Atlanta, I would expect Chicago to win, but I could see Atlanta winning too, right? You just kind of expect that.
I don't know. I can't.
You can't?
Personally, I can't. I hate Atlanta.
Yeah, well, I could see Algier and Cordero Patterson both having like 80, 90, 100-yard games, maybe a touchdown. I mean, in total, like, because Cordero Patterson could catch them. Drake London probably getting a touchdown. Maybe Kyle Pitts gets like 80 yards on the day. Like, I mean, you could see something like that happening. Not necessarily saying it will happen, but it could happen. I could also see Mariota's leg getting snapped in half. Like, anything's possible.
Okay, so I know where you're going next, Cleveland, Buffalo. Any other day of the week, you're saying Buffalo takes this, but it could go either way.
It could go either way just because of the snow. Like, you realistically, Cleveland with their running game, like, I could see them winning this. I could also see, Buffalo just saying, nah, fuck you, this is our house, and winning.
Okay, what about Baltimore, Carolina? Huh? Could that go either way?
Hear me out. No. No.
That's probably okay. Look, that to be fair, that's probably the one game this week.
I mean, Philly, Indy, yeah, like is one of those that I'm like, probably not. But like with what we just saw with like Indy kind of getting screwed, or not Indy, Philly kind of getting screwed, and Indy kind of came out hot. Like, probably not. But like, it's like the 98% chance for Philly, and there's a 2% chance for Indianapolis. You say, so you're telling me there's a chance, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Jets, Patriots, like. I could see
either way game.
Either way game. Detroit knew the Giants. I kind of see that. And with the way the Giants have been playing, you would expect the Giants to win. But I could see
more like 75-25 just because I don't think
I was like, yes. I have like a 60-40 kind of thing in my head. You already said Carolina, Baltimore, no way. Washington, Houston, realistically, Washington should win it. But like, if Dameon Pierce just is on one, like you could maybe see Houston winning this. Mm-hmm. Chase Young comes back this week. Like, maybe. Here's your real 50-50. Vegas, Denver.
The Shitter
Bowl. But you could see it either way. Like, I could see this being the game that Derek Carr is like just sets the world on fire, and they beat the Broncos 45-10. I could also see them absolutely just crapping the bed, and Russ getting a decent game. Like the defense actually like being able to hold them to less than 13 points, and Russ scoring his average of around 13 points a week.
Yeah.
You turn around and you say, okay, Dallas, Minnesota. We just said. You expect Minnesota to win this? Dallas could win it, though. It wouldn't be something that absolutely blew our minds if Dallas wins this on a last-second field goal kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh is one I'm not. Nope. Cincinnati's probably just going to be able to run away with that one.
With the offensive line of Pittsburgh or Cincinnati? The defensive line of Pittsburgh? That's the only difference for me. If Pittsburgh defense can... Time out. Let me mute and come back. If Pittsburgh's defensive line can get after Burrow, either way.
You don't have to use Burrow a whole lot this game. You can literally hand the ball to Mixon and P. Ryan and probably be.
I'd love that because I just made a trade for Mixon in my big money league.
I was like, I have him and I'm in need of some wins. So Zach Taylor, please just like give Mixon the ball like the whole game. We'll be fine. Oh. KC Chargers, like I think we both can kind of agree that where the Chargers are right now, like you would expect Kansas City to win, but
I'd say like
crazier things have happened. Crazier things have happened when these two teams played.
Yeah,
I think at that time, I think it was my senior year when we played, and it was like, oh, we're gonna win this, and then fucking Phillip Rivers just threw a absolute dime to Mike Williams with like 30 seconds left in the end zone, and I remember it because it was like you looked at me and said, "Fuck you!" like right there in the middle of the house. I was like, "Holy crap!" What?
Oh, yeah.
And that put you guys in the playoffs that year. Yeah. So,
because we were both really good that year.
Mm-hmm. And then that was like Mahomes' first year starting, second year starting. Second year start. Well,
he came on late, and then everyone was like, "Oh, this Mahomes kid's pretty damn good." And then he like really took off that year. I think that was his first year start. It was 2018.
Yeah, because wasn't he drafted in 2017? And he rode it behind Alex Smith that whole year, and then played the last. He was drafted 2017, I thought.
Yeah, he rode behind Smith, came in, they were like, huh, this Mahomes kid's like half decent, and now here we are.
I was double checking.
Because he was 100% drafted in 17, something like that.
I was pulling it up just to make sure that I was right. Yeah, career history, 2017 to present, he was, 2017 round 1, pick 10. I thought I was right on that. So, yeah, that would have been like 2018, maybe 2019. No, 2018 fall, 2018. That would have been right. Bouncing back though to now, San Francisco, Arizona being the Monday night game. you expect San Francisco to win. If Arizona's offense shows up like we know they can,
Kyler Murray is back.
If Kyler Murray is back,
who's out?
Well, he's not playing. Oh, he's not playing this weekend. They said one more week. No, San Francisco's going to win.
Oh, really? He's not? Oh, yeah.
They said probably one more week.
San Francisco defense.
So. Game over. Sorry. Cole McCoy traits McSorley.
Yak.
So realistically, one of those things where if Kyler was playing, you could see it go either way. Since Kyler's not playing, it's probably not going to go. But that's like what you would hope in a slate of NFL games. Like they could go either way. Because if it's all games and you just kind of know the outcome, you don't get the views, right? Or like you still get the views, but like everyone's just kind of like, we know what's coming. Bleh.
Mm-hmm. You know? I feel you.
But I think that's going to do it for football. Do you want to talk about basketball for a minute?
Yeah, SGA hit a 3 at the death tonight to give the Thunder a 121-120 victory. Yeah. That was pretty cool. SGA's a demon. That's really all I really have to say about basketball is SGA's crazy. Other than that, nothing really like too nuts. I think it's really too early to make any determinations.
As of right now, if the pace were to continue, Utah would be a team that blew my mind. Markkanen's out here playing like he's trying to win MVP.
Yeah, I think we said this last time we talked about basketball. Utah and Portland, I think, were two outliers in the West. I like seeing Portland have success because I love Dame, despite what he did to the Thunder a couple years ago. I think the Warriors are going to be up there, obviously, and then I think it's just early season struggles. You got a long season up ahead.
You do. I
don't think the Jazz are going to keep shooting lights out like they have, but
you never know.
Outside of that, like they're not going to be a 3 seed at least. They're going to be
they'll be
7 to 10.
Mm-hmm. They'll be in that
be a fringe team.
Elimination game fringe. Yeah.
Thunder on the fringe, but I don't think they're going to make it.
And that's okay because you get one more year of decent draft picks. You get Chet back next year. If you're the Thunder, you're you
could make it.
You could hypothetically.
If Shea keeps playing like he plays, we
could hypothetically we could make it in that 9-10 seed somewhere possibly, maybe depending on how the rest of the year shakes out. And I'd be okay with that.
And then in the East, nothing crazy.
No, nothing crazy. I'm a little.
You expect the teams at the top: Cavs, Bucks, Celtics. That's what kind of you expect.
Mm-hmm. Atlanta's playing a little bit above what I thought they would do, but that's only a 1-game difference. Wizards.
The Nets are a little down.
The Nets and Chicago are both a little down for me. I kind of would have hoped Chicago would have been a little bit up more in that. I'm kind of shocked with some of these teams, like where they're at. Like I look at New York, like the Knicks, and I'm like, I didn't really expect you to be where you're at right now. You know, that's just on paper
than I think people think.
I just at least when I'm looking on paper, like I'm like I don't expect them to be where they're at right now. Like, yeah, you've got some pieces. I mean, I guess they do got D-Rose, so like and Julius Randle, but like I looked at this team and I was like, this team wasn't a team that I would have expected to have been, been up there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I feel like they're a fringe team, but they're not like a.
Fuck, I forgot. I didn't realize Derrick Rose was 34. Holy crap.
Yeah, he doesn't have knees anymore, but he's still good. He can ball.
Hey, it's all you need. What else? Is there anything else that we can think of? World Cup starts in...
Go USA. A couple days, I think.
I think it's this week. This week it starts.
No.
I was going to see if I could pull it up, but I don't see it anywhere. Oh, there it is. Schedule. No, I just want the World Cup. FIFA World Cup starts Sunday, the 20th. This is the first day.
I know the USA plays Wales in the opening round.
Yes, on Monday at 1 p.m. our time.
Oh, really? Oh, Monday the 21st. That's right there. That's right around the corner.
Yeah, 5 days.
Nice. Draw, loss, draw, win, draw. Wales is lost, draw, lost. We should beat Wales, right? We're going to beat Wales.
You would hope.
Last time we played them in an international friendly, it was 0-0 in 2020. We got Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, I think we'll be all right.
Pulisic is that guy.
Very much so.
That'll be fun to watch. I always like watching the World Cup. Kind of brings the world together. I mean, it kind of pitches them against each other, but like it brings the country together, and that's what the U.S. needs.
Well, it brings countries together. It brings peoples together. I mean, also it does kind of bring the world together because they all get to, passionately support their country, and then like once your country's out, then you just get to enjoy soccer.
Yeah, on national television, which is cool because like you never
see
MLS
soccer
isn't big here. And like you got to watch these like
it's
streams
getting bigger, surprisingly,
or like ESPN Plus or something to watch to watch European soccer.
For European soccer, like if you're trying to watch like the Premier League or something like that, you got to find something random. MLS is getting bigger. There are teams that is kind of cool. At least I remember being in Kansas City and Sporting KC. You could find it on a local TV station.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
We have that here.
I'm sure you do. Sure. I'll convert you to something Kansas City before you leave.
That's not going to happen.
It doesn't have to be the Chiefs, dog. It's all good. It's okay.
It's never going to be the Chiefs. It's not. I'm not going to root for anything. I'm true to my teams.
True to your teams? All right. What do you even root for in the MLS? The Sounders?
I don't root for anything in MLS.
That's what I'm saying.
The Sounders are a pretty cool team. I root for the Sounders.
All right. I was gonna say, like, just root for the Sporting Kansas City. You'll be fine. Go to one of their games. You'll enjoy it. I promise.
Laney's been wanting to go, so we'll see.
Go. It's a fantastic experience.
I'm sure of it.
If you can get close to it's kind of like how Oklahoma State has a section where like of students that's like way closer to the field. There's a section down there. Those fans are absolutely insane.
I'm sure.
So, it's a pretty awesome environment. But you know what, brother? I think that's going to do it for us this week.
Yeah.
Next week hopefully we'll have the whole crew back. And
fingers crossed. I miss Diesel.
I do too. I kind of miss him like cutting in every now and then with some crazy take. And plus I want to see how our buy and sell is doing
I want to see the stocks.
This point. I want to see the stocks at this point at this point. And then I have a version of it that I want to play with him because he's going to have some fun takes on it. So we'll look forward to that in the next coming weeks. Football season's getting close though. At least as far as like college football's only got like 3 more weeks realistically before we start talking bowl games. And pros, I mean, we've got like another month, basically month and a half.
Crunch time. It's the witching hour for every football league.
It is a witching hour.
Leagues,
what are we gonna do when that happens?
Too much is gonna go on.
We're gonna have other things to talk about at that point.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So, but alrighty, dude. I think that's gonna be it for us today. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please make sure to, I guess you do subscribe to the podcast on there as well, or favorite the podcast if you're on Spotify. And we will see you all next week. Peace.